The Man He Killed is a poem written by Thomas Hardy. And this poem belongs to the modern period, the 20th century, especially it was written during the war period, the World War, period. In this poem, we are going to trace the attitude of the poet toward the idea of war. The man he killed, had he and I but met by some old ancient inn, we should have sat us down to it right many an epcrim. But range as infantry, and staring face to face, I shoot at him as he at me, and kill him in his place. I shot him dead because he was my foe, just so. My foe, of course, he was. That's clear enough, although he thought he'd less, perhaps, of hand like, just as I was out of work, had sold his traps, no other reason. Why? Yeah, quaint and curious war is. You shot a fellow down. You'd treat if met where any bar is, or help to have a crown. As we read the poem, we can find that the poet is puzzled and he doesn't know why he killed the man. And we start from the first paragraph, with a quotation mark here. Had he and I but met. He is speaking to himself. He is thinking in his mind. And he is, put it in conditional clause. If I had met him in an ancient inn, in a bar, we should chat together and have a friendly atmosphere, and even I can invite him to drink with me. The first stanza tells us that what happens is the opposite. He didn't meet him at a bar in an ancient inn. So this raised the question, where did he meet him? The answer will be later found in the other stanzas. Okay? Now, let us move to the second stanza. But the appearance of the word but and the use here indicates that something is going to be mentioned, the opposite of mentioned earlier, which is that he didn't meet him in an ancient inn. Now, more information will be introduced to us. He told us that range as infantry. He is enlisted in the army, exactly in the infantry. And he suddenly found himself looking at the man, this man that whom he killed, face to face. The idea, the use of the word staring is important. It indicates that we can imagine the way he looked at him. Both of them are looking at each other with horror and surprise. They are surprised that they are in front of each other and they are horrified to death. He said, when I found myself in front of him, look, he is looking at me and I'm looking at him. Immediately I shot at him. But what is strange is the idea that the other man also tries to shoot him. So both of them want to kill the other man. Why? Because they are in the battlefield. But the speaker, the persona, was quicker than the other man, and he killed him in his place. He was the first one to shoot. So In the second stanza, we understand that the second man is what? Is dead. Then the speaker had an inner conflict in his mind. He tries to justify this action. He said, again, look at the quotation marks. It's a kind of inner dialogue inside his mind. Try to find a reasonable answer, justifying the deed he had committed. I shot him dead because, look here, we have here this mark, the slash here, the hyphen. It tells us that he is thinking. He didn't find a final answer. And here we have to stop. When you read the poem, this is a pause. You have to pause here because this is inner dialogue inside his mind. He's saying to himself, well, I shot at him dead because he was my foe. It tells us that there is time passage here. Maybe minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, we are not sure. But this mark tells us that the persona is trying to find out a reasonable reason, convincing him because of this action, I mean, killing this man. What was the answer that he reached? Can anyone tell me? What was the reasonable answer that he finally reached, justifying the killing of the man?
That he is his foe?
Yeah, excellent. That is, he killed him because his foe. Do you know the meaning of foe? Another word for foe?
Enemy.
Enemy, exactly. Thank you. What's your name?
Magic.
Magic, excellent. Okay, as Magic said. Magic. As Magic said, he finally reached the possible reason, telling us that he killed this man. He said, because he was my enemy. Because he was my enemy. Just so. It's simply as this reason. There is no reason. Just so. The word just so tells us there is no reason. My foe, of course he was. Then, as if he is not convinced that this man is his foe, there is no enmity between him and this man. Now he is trying to convince himself, of course. The idea, the use of the word, of course, tells us that this is the correct conclusion. Of course he was. Then the next line, that's clear. That's clear. There's no hesitation. This is the inner conflict inside his mind. This is the way he is thinking deep down in his mind. Although, the word although, exactly like but. It's a concession here. Although, we know that he is not convinced. How do we know that he is not convinced with this reason? From the use of the word although. Although, let us read the following stanza. He thought he'd list perhaps offhand, like, then stop. Okay, just as I, another stop, was out of work, then another pause, had sold his traps, another pause, no other reason why. Here we can describe the speech as fragments. He's not giving us full, complete sentence. He uses phrases. And this indicates something. Why did he use phrases? And why did he kept using the slash here and here and here? He kept repeating it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Can anyone tell me why is he using this technique in this stanza?
Because he is not convinced.
Excellent. He's not convinced. He is not convinced. Okay. Let us explain what is meant. He thought he'd list. List means that he would join the army. okay, that he is going to join the army. When the war happened, this man whom he killed joined the war only for one reason. What was the reason? Offhand. He was offhand. Offhand. What does the word offhand mean? He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a job. So when the war, okay, took place, he doesn't have any job. So the only way to have a living is to join the army. That's the only reason. He was not interested in the other political slogans, or let us say maybe national purposes. No, the only reason, that is the only possible reason, that the speaker is not sure. We are not sure. How do we know that he is not sure? From the poses that he posed here and there, that he was without work, was out of work. So the word offhand is a synonym with out of work, the same meaning. He was out of work. He doesn't have a job. Then what did he do? He had sold his traps belongings, the things that he owned. He sold everything that he owns and joined the army. This is the reason, no other reason why. No other reason why. We don't have any reason, possible reason, for the man's joining the army, as mentioned in this stanza. Okay, who wants to read the last stanza? Arif? Yes, please. Can you read the last stanza?
Yes. Yes, quiet and curious warriors. You shoot a fellow down. You treat if met where any bar is, or help a half crowd.
Thank you. What do we have in the final stanza? In the final stanza, we have the conclusion of the poem. He reached the final conclusion. What did he say about war? War is what? Curious or quaint. What does this mean? Strange. Okay, war is strange. Why is it strange? Can anyone tell me?
Anna Dictora.
Yes, please.
Because you would shoot a man in war, where else if you meet him, where else you would be friends with him and maybe sit with him in a park and get along.
Yes, thank you so much. That's right. Now, the irony here is that they met in the wrong place. If he had met him in an inn, he will not shoot him at all. Maybe they will sit together and drink together and be friends. But the irony of war is that you shoot a person without any reason, simply because you met him in the battlefield. Okay? Now, the situation is clear when you have to understand the background of the world war. Here, both of the soldier and the man he killed, okay, they share the same ethnicity. Maybe they, okay, belong to the same religion and still fight each other. And this is what puzzled the soldier. Why did I kill this person? He's not my enemy, literally. It's not my fault. He is an ordinary person, maybe who joined the war simply because he didn't have a work. And the only way to have work is to join the war. I killed him without any reason, reasonable reason. He is trying to find, is this man my foe? But he's not convinced that this man is his foe. So this tells us that the speaker is not convinced with the idea of war. And in the final stanza, we can summarize the major theme of the poem, which is the irrationality of the war. The irrationality, it doesn't make sense. It has no reason. It's not logic. There's no logic. It's not judged by our reason and our mind. Because you shoot a man without any reason, just for political reasons. And this is a criticism against the wars when, done without a reasonable reason. The poet here attitude is he with war or against the war? Can anyone else? I want other students, neither, I don't want Irene or neither Majid. Another student, is he with war or against war? Yeah? Is he with war or against war?
Against war.
Yes, who says the answer?
Vera.
Yes, Vera, thank you. He is against war, okay? So, what is, now let us go back to analyze the poem. Who can paraphrase, make a paraphrase of the poem? Paraphrase is to restate what you understand from the poem in your own meaning. Who can give me a paraphrase of the poem in his or her own language? Anyone? Yeah.
A man sits in curiosity and says if he only met a person he did not mention in the first stanza in some old pub or inn, we would have sat down and shared many beer, but we met in a battlefield. That's in the second stanza, each of us aiming at each other. We both took aim and fired, but he missed and I shot him where he stood. He said that he shot him dead because he was the enemy. That's it. He was supposed to shoot, obviously, because if he did not shoot him, he will shoot him back. Then again, he'd probably join his army in similar circumstances to me, one kind of whom. He was probably out of work at that time, just like I was. He probably had to sell his belongings and join the army because they did not have any other chance or any other best circumstances not to join the army. Then he says in the last stanza, yep, war is a strange thing. You end up shooting someone you'd probably get along with in a bar or give him money if you need it.
Thank you so much. Excellent.
You're welcome.
This is the paraphrase, general paraphrase of the poem. Now, let us analyze the title of the poem. The man he killed. Is there anything strange in the title? And if strange, can anyone tell me what do you find strange in the title? Okay, if you know the answer, just raise your hands. Yes, please. Anyone? Let me see. Anyone? Okay. Majid.
أجاوب أنا دكتور.
Yes, please, Majid.
In the poem, he said that he killed the man, but in the title, it belonged to another person. He said he killed the man he killed.
Okay. Why didn't he mention the name, the pronoun? Why didn't he say the man I killed, not he killed? Can you explain, Majid?
He said the man he killed. He referred at himself as he.
Yeah, why? This is the strange thing. He refers to himself as he. He used the pronoun he.
Maybe he was ashamed to mention that.
Yeah, great. This is one reason. He considered himself doing shameful action. And he cannot say, I killed. In other words, he tried to tell us that it was not me that killed this person. It was someone else. And as Harin said, he was ashamed to say, I killed him. Okay, the man he killed. Now, had he and I, also the name of the other soldier is not mentioned. He mentioned an anonymous person. He used the third person singular, okay? He used he. Had he and I but met by some old ancient inn. Here, this is the place. Now, we have a visual image. We can imagine the situation as you see in this stanza. Now, let us go back. This is about the title. We did the paraphrase. We are going to find out if there are figures of speech, similes, imagery, metaphors, etc. Had he and I but met by some old ancient inn. Here the idea of old ancient inn, this is a visual image. We can imagine the inn. We should have sat down to wit, right, many Nibikrin, with many Nibikrin. This is a gustatory image. It's related to the taste sense, okay? So this is gustatory image. But strange as an infantry. Now, infantry also a visual image. Okay, staring face to face. It's also visual image. Visual image is the image that you can imagine it as a picture in your mind. I shot at him. Now, shot is an auditory image because it is related to the hearing ability or the hearing sense. We can imagine the sound of the shooting of the man. Okay, again, it's repeated. I shot him dead because he was my foe. Okay, just so my foe, of course he was, that's clear. Although the other stanzas, we have many examples offhand, okay, and sold his traps also a visual image. Yes, quaint and curious war is you shot a fellow down. Down is a kinetic image. There is a movement in the image. We can imagine the movement. You treat if met where any bar is or half a crown, also a gustatory image, a gustatory related to the taste. Now, we'll move to see the rhythm. Met is the first sound. Okay, in this line, met, we use A. Then N is another sound, a new sound. We'll give it B. Wit rhymes with mit, the same rhyme scheme. We give it A. Nibikrin is the same sound with N. So what is the rhyme scheme of the first stanza? What's the rhyme scheme? Rufayda Naimat?
AB.
Excellent. AB. Thank you. Now, second stanza. Infantry. We have a new sound. We give it what? C. Face. Is it the same sound? Face like infantry? Yes or no? No. So we give it what? D. Who can give me the rhyme scheme of the second stanza?
CD.
Yes, excellent. CD. Okay, great. What's your name?
Batul Khatayb.
Excellent, Batul. Now we'll move to next stanza. Because, is this sound mentioned earlier in the first and the second stanza? No. We give it?
No.
E. Fo, this is a new sound. We give it F. So EF was like because, okay? Also E, and although rhymes with fo, F. So what is the rhyme scheme of this stanza? What's the rhyme scheme of this stanza? Excellent. EF, EF. Right. You are right. Now let us move to the following stanza. Perhaps, a new sound. So it's G. I, a new sound. J. Okay. After it we have H. G, H. Perhaps, like traps, and perhaps the same sound. Yes. Who can tell me the rhyme scheme of this stanza?
GH.
Yes, right. Okay. And the last stanza is and down is and crown. Who can give me the rhyme scheme of the last stanza? We said GH, GH. IJ, IJ. Yes, thank you so much. This with regard to the rhythm. Now the structure of the poem. The structure. What do we mean by the structure of the poem? How many stanzas we have in the poem? We have
5 stanzas.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 stanzas. Now let us go to every stanza. Now, what is this stanza called when we have 4-line stanza? It's called what?
Quarter.
A quatrain, yes. So we can say that we have 5 quatrains. We have 5 quatrains. A quatrain is a poem, is a stanza of 4 lines. Okay? So here, after discussing the form and the rhythm, the imagery, the figures of speech, I want you to give me general idea about the mood of the poem. What is the mood of the poem? What is the emotional attitude of the speaker toward the topic, which is the war in our poem here? It is ironic. It is ironic. The poet considered or treats the idea of war in ironic way. I killed this man only because, without any reason, just because he was what? My foe. Just because he was my foe. Okay, any question before I end? No? Okay. Next time, I want you write an analysis of the poem, writing a general comment on the poem, discussing the theme, the structure, the figures of speech, and the mood of the poem.